for humanitarian and animal nonprofit organizations. With help from friends, she's embracing and owning her complicated past so she can forgive herself and focus on a calm and uncomplicated present and future. Most importantly, she has an incredible team, Greg. She tries to smother them with love and compassion while also working to be sure that they have the ability to make better choices than she did. And it's funny because the audience, the story it's uncurated. Anne Maria just showed up, shared that amazing tale, and it has some interesting similarities with Paya's story. So please give a warm welcome to Paya.
First of all, thank you all for being so kind to come out and hear our stories. I'm going to try to keep you right there.
Closer. There you go.
Okay. The first time I stood on the stage, naked, I was 15, I was a runaway, and I was far from home. How I got so far from home is easy. I left with a 22-year-old drug dealer. And I met him in Georgetown in Washington, D.C., panhandling, and we would go to this old abandoned Wonderbread factory and drink beer. How I got so far away is more complicated. It probably has a lot to do with a very chaotic and violent childhood, beginning with my father being mugged and stabbed to death when I was 2.5, which tormented me for the rest of my life. When I was 3, my mother married a very violent man, and there was a lot of fights, a lot of blood, broken glass, broken bones. When I was 12, she married a very nice man, and I know that he loved me. But by then, I was pretty much just checked out, I was just checked out. And they had a baby when I was 14, and I think that contributed probably to my feeling invisible. My mother was also emotionally unavailable. She was odd. She used to put garlic on the windowsills to keep vampires away. You can laugh. But when I was little, she also tried to commit suicide a lot, and she just was not available. Years later, she actually told me that the reason she never tried to bond with me emotionally was because I reminded her of the mistakes she made in the past. So I wasn't feeling very good. I was starting to feel suicidal. When I was in 8th or 9th grade, I remember hearing a story about a very popular baseball player in high school. He dated the most popular girl, and he committed suicide. And nobody could understand why. But when I heard that story on the radio, I got it. I understood the feeling that he must have had. And I was actually very, very popular, and I had a lot of friends, I was engaged in a lot of activities, but there was still this emptiness inside of me that I can't really explain. I couldn't stand being in myself. I was so unhappy, and I just couldn't be with myself. I couldn't be in the house, and I guess I figured if I left, things would be better. So I left. I drained my bank account. I had $200, bought a bunch of alcohol, and I bought 2 Greyhound bus tickets to Chicago, because that's where Louis told me he was from. He actually wasn't from Chicago, he was from Rockford, which is a pretty shitty place. But shortly after we got there, he ditched me. And it's thought that I was sold to this low-level mafia type guy, and his name was Dale. And the premise is that I was going to be babysitting for him. That's how I was introduced to him. And I did. I babysat for him once or twice. And his wife was a stripper. And I thought that sounded kind of cool. Like, I didn't think anything of it. And you have to put that in the context also that I had lived in Baltimore when I was very little, and I had two babysitters from the block, Tiki Latour and Bonnie Bell and her twin Liberty Bells. So I thought the idea of being a stripper sounded like super cool and exciting and a little bit glamorous, because he asked me, would you like to try stripping? So of course, I was like, yes, that sounds amazing. That sounds like being a solid gold dancer. Because I love solid gold dancers, and who wouldn't want to be a solid gold dancer, right? I also had some thoughts of like, maybe I'd be like a girl in like white go-go boots in a cage too. I don't know, this is, you're 15. So they take me to this really nice club, and the two dancers there are doing like burlesque. And they are beautiful, and one woman does like a little Bo Peep outfit with a hoop skirt and a staff and a wig, and another girl does this like really sexy cowgirl. So I'm standing there, and I see Dale talking to who I guess is the club owner. And they're talking, and they're looking at me, and they're talking, and they're looking at me, and I guess Dale's like assuring him I'm 18, right? And then I see the guy nodding his head yes. So the dancers took me to the dressing room, and I'm looking in their trunks, and I'm looking at all of these like beautiful dresses and costumes, and I'm holding them up to myself, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm thinking of like all of the possibilities of who I could be. Like, I could be anybody but me. And that's all I wanted to be, was somebody else. So I pick out an outfit that feels very grown up and sophisticated, because I know the very grown up and sophisticated song I'm going to dance to, Billy Joel, Uptown Girl. So I put my little outfit on, and I march my little self out there, and I get on stage, and it's hard to describe like the range and rush of feelings that I felt, but I felt seen. And I know that sounds so weird, but I felt really, really seen, like in a way that I hadn't been seen before. So eyes are on me, and I'm dancing, and I feel validated in some way, and I feel desired, but not in a sex way. The thought of anybody wanting to have sex with me when I was dancing is like the grossest thing I could ever, like it was never ever about that. I didn't know anything about sex. I'd only had a couple of boyfriends before I left that I'd like, made out with. My only sexual experience before I got there was, being raped. And then the things that happened when I got to Rockford, which you can imagine were not very good. So it was never about that. I get off the stage, and everybody wants to buy the lady a drink, and I'm feeling very important. So after this, we are off to the races. Dale's wife left him, took a daughter. He moved me into her little unicorn adorned room, and then he started booking me at clubs. And some of these clubs I would live at like for a week over the club, or in one case I lived with another dancer. And none of the clubs were very nice. They were nothing like the one I had been at before. I remember one, like in particular, was like really small and dirty and grimy, and had like this long, skinny bar with a little square stage at the end. And I was supposed to make $200 for the week. I have no idea what happened to my tips. But if I drank anything, then my drink came out of my money, unless somebody bought me a drink. And then I could keep the straw. And if I turned my straw in at the end of the night, I'd get the money credited back. Of course, I never saw any money. But one little reprieve that I had, which is really weird, but there was a really nice man, and he was a costume designer, and he made the outfits. And one of the outfits he made for me was like this light blue chiffon, beaded bustier with a cape, and a T-strap, and a G-string, and the stupid, so a T-strap goes over your G-string. And, they don't make costumes for dancers anymore like they did in 1983. Nobody wears a cape anymore. So, here I am, I'm like dancing, and I'm trying to get like the T-strap off, and when you're trying to like be sexy, and you're like, ugh. So, I can't quite get it off, and I'm not very good at my job, obviously. But I had this cape, and the cape, I could just spin and spin. My favorite song to dance to when I wore the cape was Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. Right? Turn around, bright eyes, turn around, turn around, turn around. So I'm turn. And it's just like this amazing feeling, this escape into nothingness. And that's all I wanted, was nothingness. After about 10 weeks, 3 months, 10 weeks, my parents did find me. And they said when they drove home, I didn't say a single word. I think I must have been very defeated. I honestly have no memory of driving home. I guess I was defeated because, I wasn't having a lot of fun. I was caught up in this really messed up world, just trying to survive at that point. Dale had been drugging me. There's reason to believe I've been sold to other people. And it was just hard. But when I got home, as troubled as I was, surprisingly, I graduated from high school early, put myself through college, joined a sorority, graduated with honors, and then I became a stripper again. It's okay, it's kind of funny. The only way I can explain that, though, is I still wasn't comfortable in myself. And when I danced, it was this perfect world of all I had to do was think about what am I going to wear, what am I going to dance to, what am I going to drink, and who will I maybe talk to. And that's it. It's a perfect escape. Anyway, I did that for a couple of years, and then I did start to get some help, on and off, and life was a series of up and downs. In 2018-19, I went through a very devastating depression. I still feel terrible about putting my son, my child, through this, my teen, who's the most amazing spirit and rock and roll star in the world. Such a trooper, they really have hung in with me. But in 2020, I started to get some really solid help. That depression was a turning point, and I have a very close friend who really pulled me through this. And when I started to get help, I learned some really important things. One was that when you have that empty feeling, a lot of it is caused when you don't attach to your caregivers properly at a young age. You end up with these feelings of like intense loneliness, no matter how many friends you have. I've also learned that it's really important to try to connect to that child, that piece of me, because I have told pieces of the story before, but whenever I've told it, it's been very distant. It's like I'm talking about somebody that somebody told me about. Then it's somebody I heard about. Then it's somebody maybe in my neighborhood. And then it's somebody I kind of sort of know. And then, oh my God, it's a little girl. And it's a little girl in the neighborhood. And then that little girl is me. So I'm doing a lot better. And the reason for that is, besides therapy, I have really amazing friends. I have so many good friends. The gratitude I have for them is incredible. I just, near and far, old and new, I have this amazing support group of people who love me and they help me trust in myself. And they really helped me to learn 5 super important things about myself since I was a little girl standing on that stage when I was 15. And that is, feelings are not facts. Therefore, I am not a horrible, terrible person. I am worthy of love, being accepted and seen. I am a miracle, and I'm a fucking warrior. Thank you.
I'm kissing you, look at me. Come kiss him.
Thank you, Pi. Okay, next up to the microphone is the youngest in a big southern